supply chain crisis, global chip shortage, driving up auto prices. The worldwide semiconductor shortage is creating havoc on the automotive industry, squeezing the supply of microchips used in vehicles to robotic vacuum cleaners. Most manufacturers are experiencing production delays and brief shutdowns as they wait for the supply of chips that they need in producing cars on the assembly line. While some are temporarily suspending various optional features to keep new cars going to consumer markets. General Motors, for example, claims that some vehicles are being built without seat heat and ventilation, since these features can be added later once the components become available. Despite the high demand for automobiles from consumers, auto manufacturers were only able to produce 1.7 million vehicles in 2021, which is fewer than in 2019. A factor that contributed to this is the conflict happening in Ukraine, which affected the supply of neon gas, which is used to make semiconductors. Ukraine is the largest producer of neon gas globally, which accounts for 60% of supplies. Sam Abulsamed, an analyst at Guidehouse Insights that keeps tabs on the automotive industry, said that vehicle supplies will return to normal by the end of 2022 or 2023. Modern vehicles heavily rely on chips that regulate everything from window motors to navigation systems, brake sensors, and power steering. A modern vehicle system can have anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 chips. As a result, the automotive industry has been hammered hard by chip shortages, which cause delays in production. This means fewer new automobiles are available for eager buyers. According to Auto Forecast Solutions, the global shortage resulted in the decline of automotive production by 10 million units in 2021, adding 1 million at risk this year. This caused the price to escalate. Whether new or secondhand, purchasing an automobile is more complicated than usual. But what exactly is a semiconductor chip? A semiconductor chip, or commonly known as a microchip, is said to be the brain of modern electronics and is made out of silicon. These highly constructed components are fundamentally a type of electric circuit that have a sequence of transistors that act as small switches to regulate electron flow. The complexity of microchips varies tremendously. Most credit cards, for example, include a straightforward chip as an extra security measure. On the other hand, high-end computer CPU are highly complicated. These chips are now found in almost everything from automobiles to cell phones to refrigerators to electric toothbrushes. What is causing a shortage in the automotive industry? There are a few reasons why the chip shortage is hitting the automotive industry, and it is particularly hard. 1. More chips are being used in modern vehicles than ever before. With each new model, cars and trucks get larger infotainment systems and a slew of other high-tech safety measures. Each of these high-tech characteristics is dependent on semiconductor chips. 2. The pandemic threw off supply and demand predictions. Automakers expected a significant decline in new car demand when nationwide lockdowns and quarantines began in March 2020. As a result, they cut sales expectations and canceled part purchases for microchips. The decrease in demand for new vehicles only lasted temporarily when auto manufacturers noticed that consumers still wanted to buy. This resulted in chip manufacturers taking work from other companies to replace canceled orders. This brings us to the question, why can't manufacturers produce more to meet the demands? But before we continue, go ahead and click the subscribe and like buttons. It takes a lot to make these videos. Your small actions tell YouTube to keep promoting our videos. Also, tell us in the comment section what you think about the global chip shortage. Thanks. Now back to the video. Building semiconductor chips is a time-consuming, costly, and complex process. As a result, there are just a few chip producers in the world, and all of those businesses are now working at maximum capacity. It takes years of preparation and billions of dollars to build new production facilities, often known as foundries. Even if these factories can produce new chips, the process takes time. According to the Semiconductor Industry Association, a typical semiconductor takes roughly 12 weeks to produce, and building advanced chips can take up to 20 weeks. When you factor in time to ramp up manufacturing and transfer the completed product, a new chip order may take up to 6 months to complete. How the shortage is currently affecting the price of vehicles. This shortage of semiconductor chips has immediately translated into a lack of new automobiles in car dealerships during the last year. Due to a shortage of semiconductors, many automotive makers have halted the manufacturing process. In fact, Ford has reportedly flooded parking lots throughout Detroit with almost finished F-150 pickups, which are waiting for the chip installation before being dispatched to dealers. Due to a scarcity of inventory, new automobiles are difficult to come by, but they are also selling for, or more than, the manufacturer's suggested retail price, MSRP. As a result, many automobile buyers move to the used car market, where higher costs are also plentiful. According to Edmunds statistics, the average transaction price for a used automobile in the second quarter of 2021 was $25,400. This is up from $20,942 at the same time last year, a 21% hike. Whether you buy new or secondhand, you will most likely pay more than ever. How long will this last? Nobody knows for sure when the semiconductor chip shortage will end. However, it is expected to last until the second half of 2022, according to several analysts. According to some car executives, production will not recover to pre-pandemic levels until 2023. Chip makers have also stated that producing enough chips to fulfill current demand may take a year or two. Meanwhile, the White House has announced plans to invest $50 billion in semiconductor production and research in response to the shortage. However, any government assistance will help to prevent future shortages rather than alleviate the current one. The chip business is cyclical, with demand for chips used in consumer products and other industries shifting with the economy's decline and flow. The market swings from excess to shortages. However, when the pandemic struck in 2020, it shook the semiconductor industry to its core due to the shutdown of chip manufacturing, packaging, and testing facilities. Other supply chain elements, such as procuring silicon wafers, substrates, and other raw materials, were also affected, putting pressure on supplies. Companies' complicated operations for moving chips worldwide and shipping completed goods to clients were also harmed, resulting in lower stockpiles that are difficult to restock. When the world faces a chip shortage, there is nothing that the semiconductor industry can do to remedy it in the short term. Chip makers have begun raising pricing and modifying their order books in addition to increasing production speeds. The rise in prices and unavailability of new cars in the market has pushed consumers towards the used market, which is now scarcer and more expensive than ever. So, if you are thinking of buying a new or second-hand car, you might want to rethink that. But if you're planning on selling your car, well, the market is currently a seller's market.